Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Inven Global Podcast. Here we are. Oh, wait a minute. I think I accidentally transitioned. I think you guys were looking at us the whole time, but whatever, we're live. You couldn't hear us. So, welcome to the 26th technical mishap that I have done when starting this podcast, aka episode 26. I am joined once again by Eric Gindele, my co-host and business manager at Inven Global. My name is Nick D'Orazio, Director of Corporate Strategy at Inven Global, and we are joined by Shawn Thomas, a man of so many possible titles we have learned from making this, that I just want to ask him, if you had to have one title, what is it? What do you view yourself? You are a blank. Shawn Thomas is a blank.
I would say like a creator or a creative. That feels like I'm really full of myself, but I feel like that's just the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk more about that. Such a vague thing, because in the same way it's vague, it's not unfamiliar. We hear people say content creator and I'm a creator, or calling all creatives, or it's just a very common thing. And we all know what it looks and like generally feels like. This person will have colored lights in their home. They will own a nice webcam. They will stream in some capacity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is just what we know. However, I feel as if it's a job that's like becoming more and more important. Like everyone knows the money is where the content is. Everyone needs content. Everyone's constantly trying to satiate these audiences that need online content, need it fresh, they need it more than ever. And it makes sense. We have all of these cable companies getting less and less business. I don't even own a TV. Who here owns a TV in this podcast?
So I do.
Well, you use it for gaming, I bet, right?
Yeah. Oh, you can't see it. I have a big TV behind me, but
yeah, I have a TV too.
But I don't have cable.
Yeah, cable. That was the point.
Yeah. Right.
I haven't had cable since I moved. I moved out of my parents' house. I moved to Boston, and the first thing I decided, because in my house every month the big conversation was like how big the cable bill was. It's like $200, $250, and I was like, for what? So my grandmother can watch tennis? Like, no way. Because like we're kids of the internet. Like I know I can get it for free if I just Google it.
Oh yeah.
And which is like, it's kind of shitty, but it just is what it is. And I would rather pay $30 a month for Crunchyroll and Netflix and Amazon Prime, and then like I'm good, because I'm not going to watch any of those anyway. I'm just going to watch YouTube.
So first of all, if you want to talk about getting things for free, my wife is Chinese. She's from mainland China. Love her to death. It's a very important thing, I think, to learn about another culture through marriage. It's a very unique thing, but I think it's very rewarding, because you just start to view the world through a Chinese mainland perspective. And getting things for free when you can is not, it's not just common sense there, but if you don't do it, you're like an idiot. Like people will literally be like, you are a fool. And I feel as if the amount of websites that, like, the only reason Americans don't know them is because they're just like Chinese URLs, or just like Chinese, you can, oh my God, they don't care about copyright or any of that. You can literally find anything streaming online. And it's no ads, no anything. It's just, whatever. What are you going to do? So sites like those are everywhere. And whenever I live in China, you can just watch anything for free. It's so crazy. You go to anyone's house, and their TVs are automatically set up to their mobile phones. And there's all these cool apps. And you can just, hey, let's watch this. Anyways,
really cool.
But that being said, you recently had a viral success, right? As a content creator. I mean, you've had the thing that everyone wants to happen when you create content happen. What is it? It's got like 7 million views or something crazy?
Yeah, so a little backstory on that.
Yeah.
So this is actually really funny, and I think that this little journey of mine it just so perfectly sums up who I am. So I run a YouTube channel with a couple of my friends called the HQ Boys, and we make podcasts, we make YouTube videos, and right before I started that, I was like looking at I got an ad for Manscaped. It was for the Lawnmower 3.0. It's their ball shaver.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I really want one of those, but I don't want to pay for it. Yeah. So already on track with the conversation about, not wanting to buy things. And so I had my friend Moz. He was able to find the woman who is like the influencer manager there.
Yep.
He got me her email. I emailed her and I was like, hey, I really want one of your trimmers. I'll make you a sick video if you send it to me. And she was like, okay. And she sent it to me. And so I made this cool little stylized thing, and they were like, oh, we really love that. And I was like, I'm going to take this as a moment to be an influencer, and I'm going to shoot an unboxing. I've never done an unboxing before. And and I shot this unboxing, and I posted on my Instagram. It was not part of the deal with them. I was like, I just want to look sick. I've got a code, whatever. And they, when I emailed them when the HQ Boys were launching our channel, and I was like, hey, would you want to sponsor some of the shows? And I think at that point she went to my Instagram because the Manscaped account liked the video and then replied to me and was like, we'd love to sponsor your show. We also love this unboxing. Can you send us the video? And I didn't really think much of it. And I was like, yeah, whatever. A couple weeks go by and she's like, can you please send me the video without the music in it? And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. I sent it to her. And then boom, every single day for the past like 3 months, somebody sends me the ad. And we're talking TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and it just like blew up. Like I tell everybody, I'm the new Raid Shadow Legends.
You are.
But for Manscaped.
I've seen the ad, and it was so strange because I'm sitting there just watching YouTube videos, and I'm like, is that Shawn Thomas? That's Shawn Thomas.
I mean, dude, like kids I haven't talked to since high school, being like, yo, dude, really like, looking like life is crazy for you now, bro. Like,
dude, roll it up. You're probably you, dude. Are those colored lights on the back of your webcam and shoes? That is, he's blown up.
Yo,
dude, that's
your balls
hilarious.
must be immaculate, bro. not
Bro, like no homo, but like, can I see your balls, bro? Because like the ad says it's very, the ad's very clear in how well you like the product, and I'm an interested consumer. I'm trying to buy the product. Shawn Thomas, help me out.
No, dude, it was really interesting, and it's weird because like, it didn't result in anything changing for me personally. Like,
that's
like
so
I
sad
didn't
when you
get
put it like that.
But I mean, it's honestly the best of both worlds, right? Like I think a lot about how awesome it must be to be internet famous and not real life famous because of my work with Raja. When we go to India, it's like the real deal. Like people running up on her with cameras. Like she can't go anywhere. She can't step out of her house. But you know, I'm really good friends with Afromoot, and like we walked around Target, nobody bothered him. But if you bring him to Sawtell, everybody knows him. Bro. And like that's kind of cool because he gets to live his real life. And I make way less money than him, but I'm kind of the same way. You know me on YouTube as a Manscaped guy, but I can go to the grocery store and I'm fine.
It's the best of both worlds. I've been watching that Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix, The Last Dance, and it's just insane. Like, I mean, he was like the height of his career, like mid 90s and stuff like that, and like the footage that they showed is just like not just like America, like not within just like the circle of NBA. He was like a worldwide phenomenon. He was like by far like the most popular person in the world at the time.
No,
and you would just see him like swarmed like crazy, and like he would just sit in his hotel because he didn't have a choice because like where the fuck was he gonna go? What was he gonna do? And he would just.
The incredible thing about Jordan is he didn't even let it get in the way of his game. How are you so good at basketball? You don't let all that power and height and fame stop you from being the best.
It's insane. That whole show is like a sports anime, basically, where it's like Jordan will be like, "Oh, you'll pay for like fucking."
Well, no, it's true.
Saying that shit to me, and it like fuels him. Like it actually like made him better. Like you didn't want to give Jordan like anything to go off of because it would just like make him like 3 times better. His dad got murdered. I didn't know his dad got murdered.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
hell,
he was like, oh yeah, with the passing of his father and stuff. Dude got shot in the chest, like in a carjacking. I was like, what the fuck?
I had no idea that was him. I feel horrible about it. It was just some guy that I mugged. I didn't realize it was Michael Jordan's father.
Get out of here.
I guess I am responsible
grand opening,
for the
grand closing on the podcast.
I was very young. I was around 2 years old.
4 years old.
It was a who shot Mr. Burns moment. Wow, I'm a boomer if anyone recognizes that. Do you guys remember the cultural that happened? Okay, it was a real big deal. It was the first cartoon that I wanted to do something like that. But you know what? Actually, about Michael Jordan, Eric, you used the word fuel. He got fuel for, and that's actually 100% like the truth. Now, Eric's heard me say this before, but I've been reading this series of essays about choking versus panicking. Because I think it's like also good esports knowledge for me. I like interview a lot of like winners, and sometimes they lose, and I also want to understand what's the difference between choking and panicking. And they say choking is when someone who is a master at their craft is all of a sudden made into a novice because of the introduction of an audience or pressure or the fact that people are watching. A choke is when they don't get fueled by the crowd. Yeah. Michael Jordan doesn't choke because maybe it was his ego, his youth. Something about him loved the crowd. It pushed his mastery to a whole nother level. So when people trash talked him, what they did was created a narrative. And the narrative allowed Michael Jordan to essentially pump himself up. Because now he's creating this narrative. He thinks he's going to beat me in the front, so-and-so. So anyways, choking, the opposite of choking is Michael Jordan. That's clutch. Someone's clutch when they get fueled by the fact that everyone's looking at them. And panicking is when someone who isn't at the mastery level yet. So they're not masters yet, but they're put into the position in which people expect mastery from them. That's panicking, and that's when they're really bad at it.
They kind of go into that during the documentary too, where you know, when they're scouting players and stuff, it's not just about your like physical fortitude; it's about your mental fortitude too. Because if you're fucking killing it the whole game, but you're not able to perform when it really matters, like it's basically like worthless at that point. You know, it's just like the deciding factor between someone that might be like a couple inches shorter than somebody, but you know they have this track record of just like putting away when it mattered.
Yeah, and that's what I was reading about the NFL and college leagues, right? Yeah. Like I'm not into football at all. By the way, Shawn, I swear this is a gaming podcast, but we're just talking about we're talking about performance and content creators. Shawn, we were talking about this, you being famous as or popular right now. I know fame is that word. What does that even mean anymore, right? Who's famous anymore? I don't even know. Yeah. But I know exactly what you mean when it comes to the esports side of being too famous. I remember when I would travel to China with some of these Warcraft 3 pros, especially back in the day when Warcraft 3 was at its height, it was exactly like you described. I'm talking mobbed. You can't go out. You can't go to the airport. It's not fun. But this fame is when you can turn it on and off. I go to a convention and I get to be king for the day because people recognize me, but I can go back home. Yeah. That's the nice stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, speaking of esports and speaking of gaming, we usually start off the podcast before we get into our big topics of the day. There has been a lot of news going on, but we usually start with what games we're playing. So for me, I've actually been streaming. I used to stream back in the day, but I've started doing it again this week because I've been playing Melee so much. Project Slippy is just the coolest thing ever, and I will always shout them out. Shout outs to Slippy.gg. But playing Melee online with rollback netcode and no lag, it's the most fun gaming I've had in such a long time, and it's been so needed for me during this quarantine, right? Like, it's one of those things where I didn't realize how much knowledge about Melee I had until I started playing with new players. And the fact that I can play with new players online, they're amazed at like the low tier jank I have with each character. Because it's like, to them, they've only known, Melee, that game with Fox, Falco, Marth, and they only know the top tiers. So when you show them Bowser, like edge cancel combos and stuff, they're like, the fuck? I didn't even know Bowser could be. And that's really fun for me, and I think that's what makes the stream interesting. So I've been doing that. I've just been in my low tier city. Eric, what games have you been playing, man?
Well, ever since I beat Ghost of Tsushima, I got the platinum in that last week, and
dude, do you even work?
No, I do.
No, you have no idea.
I put like 10 hours into that game, like the first Saturday that I came out. Picked it up that Friday, and I burned through that shit. It was super good, and I know you've been playing it too, so I want to hear your thoughts on it. But besides that, like nothing has really been coming out, so I've been just jumping into games that I've already played. I'm playing like a modded version of Dark Souls 3 right now. Going through Devil May Cry 5 again with some mods. Cuphead, they just brought the PS4, but I've been going through it again on PC. And then, ever since we were talking about HOTS last week, Nick, and how broken Rhaegar is right now.
You started playing it?
Yeah, I jumped in with Rhaegar, and I haven't lost a game since.
Okay, so two things before I ask Shawn, because
Yeah.
I just want to agree with Shawn. How the hell do you even find time to work? Because my biggest thing is it's like I don't have time to play games. However, maybe I'm starting to realize, because Shawn, I'm also stuck in this comprehension maze, because Eric is a very hard-working person. He works very hard with the company. Like me and him get a lot of work done. So I don't understand how he plays all these games.
He must not sleep. That's something's got to give.
How, dude?
I stay up late. I've been doing it more often. I'll have like nights where I'm up until like 2 or 3 in the morning, just hanging out. That makes sense.
Because then what? You like wake up at 9. You're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like constantly cycling through stuff. Like those 3 games that I mentioned, DMC5, DS3, and Cuphead. Like I just played like a couple of minutes of those. Like I'll just cycle through.
I see.
And then I'll just jump into like a single game of HOTS or something. Like I just have a short attention span, so I'm constantly just like jumping between shit. But Ghost of Tsushima was one of those ones that I was like, all right, I'm not playing anything else until this is done.
You played
What's
Ghost. Up? You played Ghost of Tsushima too?
Yeah, I got the platinum in it earlier this week.
No, sorry. I asked Shawn. Shawn's also been playing Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, so I'm playing it. I started it a little bit late because I was late to finishing The Last of Us Part 2. I've been playing it a lot. I like it. I like parts of it, but some parts of it I think are like incredibly underwhelming, unfortunately.
It's got those open world game foibles for sure, and not like you would see in like a modern Assassin's Creed game, more like older Assassin's Creed game where there's there's shit on the map, you're going to it, you're doing it, but it's not really adding anything to your experience.
Dude, you're the first person that I've been able to really talk to with that like fully agrees with me on this. It's like I think the game is good. I think it's really fun, but I play open world games for like the beautiful deep open worlds, right? Like these Bethesda games, The Witcher, etc. And this game just doesn't. The open world is not full of like cool stuff. It's like the Mongols are doing something mixed up a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, they're also bandits. Can't forget about the notable bandits. I totally agree. I mean, that game is like gorgeous though. So like I think that
I spend all my time in the photo mode. Legitimately all my time in the photo mode. It's so sick.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, we'll talk about your photography later, but on that, the artistic side of it, I actually was recently reading an interview, and I think I forgot his name, but he was it's the guy who made the Japanese mobster games. Yakuza.
Dude, Yakuza games are my favorite games. Yeah. Literally my favorite series.
I just started up Kiwami on PC. Like,
did you play Zero first?
I watched someone else play Zero.
Okay, good, fine.
Yeah,
you've achieved it.
The director of that game claims that Ghost of Tsushima is so good that he's disappointed that Japan didn't make it. He doesn't understand why Japan didn't make this game, and he's like, I guess we're just losing. I guess we're just behind on game making.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that's actually part of what I don't like about the game is the stuff that is like Japanese is clearly made by a white guy, which is a bummer. Like even down to the fact that the default language is English. Obviously it's made by Sucker Punch, it's made by US Studio, but like when you put it in Japanese, the mouth doesn't move.
Dude, I was gonna say, like I came into this game with every intention of playing it in Japanese, but just like it bothers me a lot. Even if I'm like just reading subtitles, it's not like a big deal, but I don't know.
Yeah, what you probably wanted to do was experience the game in its intended way. So you assume that would be Japanese, but the fact that the voice acting doesn't match, well, no, let me just watch it in English.
And the whole emphasis. Yeah,
but the problem is when the English stuff is like white people trying to sound like Japanese people.
Honor.
Yes, like honor, and like and they'll say some words perfectly in English and then some with like a little Japanese flair. It's like I think
that's kind of all across the board with that stuff.
Yeah, we don't have to do too much ghost talk, but I think that is the perfect example of what is the issue with the game for me. Is like it feels like a lot of half measures in certain ways. I think it's really good. I think it's a lot of fun, but one of my friends who I see is in the chat right now is saying that it's his game of the year, and I just that's not me.
It's up there for me. I put like Ori and the Will of the Wisp and FF7 Remake above it right now, but I liked it. I really love Dark Souls 3 purely because of like the environments and stuff and how like goddamn gorgeous they are. So that's where I'm kind of coming from with Ghost of Tsushima, and the fact that they've like completely eliminated the HUD. The win system for navigation actually really like sick. Works, and you can like, because like I play games where they try to do that shit, but you're like, it's not super useful. Like you either have like these big cartoony like wing gusts, like, oh, I guess I'm going this way, which is also just as like as shitty as having like a big compass on the side of the screen.
Agreed.
But I really like that stuff and just kind of getting lost.
I can't believe
that.
you play Dark Souls for the environments. How psychotic of an esports a try-hard am I is that I legitimately, my favorite part about any of the Dark Souls was the PvP. Even with it being insane and random, but I just, man, if you think...
The best part of Bloodborne was the PvP. That was unreal.
For sure. I think that, man, I just love so much the Dark Souls like engine. When you put a human mind behind the enemies, it's just, it's the most compelling combat ever. Especially, a lot of people don't like Dark Souls 2 combat, but I just think it's because they're casuals. Dark Souls 2 was so lethal. Like, if you make one mistake, you die. Some people don't like that, but, you know, it's more like sparring.
Yeah, I just saw, like, a definitive, like, Dark Souls ranking from, like, Game Informer that just came out, like, yesterday or something, and they put Dark Souls 2 at, like, the second spot. And I was like,
really?
What the fuck?
Yeah. What was the top one? Sekiro?
Bloodborne. Sekiro was near the bottom.
Bloodborne. I'd say that, too. I think Bloodborne's the most polished. Anyways, speaking of Bloodborne, there's Blood in the Sand in Saudi Arabia, based off the now canceled Neom and LEC partnership. So that segue, that was all right? I tried to be good on my segues.
Getting worse and worse. They're so bad, dude.
I thought that was all right. I thought that was all right. It was probably even culturally relevant too, because Blood in the Sand is, I think, is a movie. I think Blood in the Sand's a movie that has to do in sport. But anyways, if you're a fan of League of Legends, and I know Shawn is, then you have probably already heard about the huge uproar that happened due to the LEC's decision to announce that it added the Saudi Arabian city Neom as its main partner for the 2020 summer season. So that would mean that Worlds would have happened in Saudi Arabia, and, you know, there would have been like Neom advertising and so on and so everywhere. We actually have a fantastic article on that went up on invenglobal.com. Shout outs to Radoslav. He wrote a full report on why it's bad, what is Neom, what you should know. So if you don't know anything about Neom, I definitely suggest you check out that article. But man, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think first about why even make this decision? And did you think there was a chance that they thought this would go over well? Like, do you really think they thought this is something that wouldn't blow up in their face? Because to me, that's the first note of this story that strikes me. How could you not know this was going to blow up in your face? You post this while having a pride icon already on your Twitter profile, picture. It was just so much hypocrisy. What do you guys think?
I think the paycheck was just too big, dude. I mean, the company that's like run this and like sponsored and everything, they're worth like $500 billion or something, $500 billion. Like, just think about like what that check would have looked like, and looking at that and being like, nah, we're good. I think they were fully aware of like the backlash of this. Part of me thinks that they still got some of the money in the deal just by like throwing it out there.
I mean, I know about Neom now, right? Like, like the marketing was something.
Yeah.
Shawn,
like, part of me
what do you think, man?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, like, for me, the thing that stood out the most about that whole experience was all of the casters just like literally putting their jobs on the line and being like, "This is unacceptable." And I think that the reason that LAC partnered with them, it was that like, and they even said it in their announcement, right? Like, things happen so fast in that process that they probably just saw the dollar signs and were like, maybe it won't be a problem. But I don't know. I think that's such a massive misstep from Riot, especially Riot being a company that has not had the greatest track record in general, right? Like, they're fully owned by Tencent. They had a really sketchy case last year with what's the word I'm looking for?
Like sexual harassment.
Yes,
Yeah,
sexual harassment.
harassment.
And like, it's just like to do the, and but I felt like they were really making strides, right? Like they made such a big commitment to Black Lives Matter. They've obviously been trying to really focus on the LGBTQ community and stuff like that. And then to do this, it's like, what's happening over there, you know? But I think that the casters and the hosts really going out of their way to be like, we're not gonna stand for this, and like, you better find somebody else to host your shows now. It was really brave of them, because like, especially right now, like, how are you going to get another job? It's so unlikely. But
it's shitty enough to, you know, put greed above everything else at this point, but to kind of put your community and the talent behind you in this kind of situation too, where, you know, it's not only Riot that was affected with this, it was like everyone associated with Riot and kind of like forcing that onto everyone.
So I'm going to do that thing where I play the devil's advocate, simply because there are other sides of this story. It's a really interesting thing going on.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, Riot is, as Shawn said, completely 100% a Tencent owned. So you just have to, at its core, although Riot employs Americans and is American and all that, at its very core, the decision making is one of a Chinese mindset. And like, that's like neither bad nor good. It's good in many ways, because it makes them very quick. It makes them very mobile. You can tell how agile they are to pick up something that works culturally and then like run with it. This is something I wish I had seen from Blizzard and seen from other companies. But there are also bad things, in the same way that, like, why not make a deal with the Saudi Arabians? Because if you look at what Neom was, like, Neom is supposed to be like an oasis. It's supposed to be literally a city of tech and future that
it's described as a mega city.
Yes. It's supposed to operate outside of the Saudi Arabian government. It's supposed to be autonomous, have its own tax, its own labor laws, its own judicial system even. The whole point of a Neom was, let's do something new. So on that end, you have to say that's the positivism. I mean, that's the optimism. That's the positivity. That's what made Riot think maybe we can get away with doing this. Because maybe people will view this as a light in the darkness. As you know what, there are gamers in Saudi Arabia too. There's gamers all over the world. And sure, it sucks how just because they were born here, they can't enjoy all this that we have. That being said, I think that they tried to move way too quickly, way too soon, and I think Eric's right, because it's just the price check. I think that the dollars was probably so high that the amount of due diligence that needed to happen, like, you know, you should probably talk to your community and representatives.
Nick, the fact we're both on the business side of things, you know. Does anything ever just happen between two companies?
No.
Or are there like 40 like phone calls and like redrafts of contracts and documents and going back and renegotiating?
And that, to me, is the most telling part, because Riot's business team is very different than the friendly faces you see at the LEC and all that. So their business team had no problem setting all this up. Like, no problem. There are no doubts, no concerns. So much to the point where they hit execute, they hit send, they hit release it, right? So that's probably the negative side effect of being 100% owned by Tencent. That you have a blindness, you have a blind spot, and I think just American culture in your decision making, or just Western culture, you know.
My biggest concern, I think that your point is salient about like just where their own, their culture, their values, but shouldn't like a red flag be like that basically the Saudi Arabian government for lack of a better term, like wants to invest in your esports, in your European esports league? Like, where is the value added for Tencent?
I like to imagine that the first email that they sent Riot just ended up right in their junk mail folder or something.
Hello, I am a Saudi prince.
Literally.
I'm a Saudi prince, and I'm trying to fund... No, it's true, actually. If you respond to this email, I will give you trillions of dollars. You know, speaking of that, Eric, not to get too silver tinfoil hat on this podcast, and Eric knows I do every time, but this is true. There are Saudi Arabian wealth young wealth that love gaming and that love esports. This is not the first time we have seen Saudi Arabian money try to buy up major esports IPs or major esports or video gaming things. And it just
like,
makes
why?
sense. Well, I mean, why? It's because, like, it's the youth explosion of the world, like gaming and, like, now the internet. Like, look at Brazil, look at India, I'm sure, look at Saudi Arabia. The people in power of the economy, they know that gaming's big. They see all the youth, all of the, like, young people with their phone. So it's no mistake that Riot is owned 100% by Chinese. It's no mistake that Blizzard is also owned by China. It makes no mistake because China has been buying up the American video game real estate for some time now. Maybe it's because of their culture. They already knew that games were big and they were going to be big. So when all of the American investors and money and people who could have owned these things, they just kind of dragged their feet. So we're going to see more of this. And the fact that this was such a big, vocal, and obvious fail, I think it means, we're going to see it different. We're going to see. I mean,
this isn't the first time that, like, a situation like this has happened. Like, there was a situation with, I think it was last year with the WWE. They like partner with, like, the Saudi Arabia, like, government to do, like, exclusive shows, like, in Saudi Arabia that they were, like, broadcasting stuff. And everyone was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, they have, like, such, like a diverse cast in WWE. They have, like, a whole, like, woman's kind of, like, aspect to it, and, like, the women were not allowed to, like, wrestle at all during that show. It's
really?
like,
they just
this is there. Like,
yeah,
they just weren't invited, I guess. But it's just like, really, this is, like, okay.
Well,
that's insane.
I don't know. Yeah, it's fucked.
I guess, to applaud Shawn's point, to applaud the people who risked their jobs and risked their neck to say no, this isn't going to happen. I think that actually is a really big deal. One, because if I have to put on my business hat, there's an angry Saudi Arabian businessman that is angry that this didn't happen, and I'm sure this businessman who even knows if he's from Saudi Arabia, he's probably trying to understand why this didn't work. And one of those things is going to inevitably, from the postmortem, is, Western audiences aren't going to ever be okay with being associating with us because of our horrible LGBTQ stance, our horrible stance on gay rights, and our horrible stance on many of this. So the more these businessmen can't get what they want because of this, the businessmen, they're going to go to the politics people and be like, we need to, we can't do business with the West repeatedly on our most satiant properties. Why? Maybe there needs to be some push. And that's a somewhat cynical view, but that's how the world works.
Like, they're never going to, like, give up, on tapping into this market. They're just going to find like sneakier ways to do it. They'll like buy one company and that company will start doing some shit, and the company that owns other companies are going to start doing stuff. So they'll
look like an American company or a Western company. So
they'll have their hand in something at some point down the road. But
just to Nick's point, I feel really bad for the people that aren't at fault that lost in this deal. You know what I mean? Like I think it would have been really cool to serve markets that don't have access to this kind of stuff and maybe would love access and etc. But it just like, I guess, like, where do your values stand, right? Like, do you want the money? Do you want to serve these people, or do you want to, like, stand up for what's right by the people who have already done right by you for so long?
Yeah.
So
and it is true to be said to that. There is a third option here that Riot had. I mean, Riot didn't say, we're backing out of this, and we ask the Saudi Arabian government to look at their, X, Y, and Z. They didn't really come out and use this as an opportunity to say, you know what, you're right, the world does need to get better. And then, because, we've already seen American politicians jump on this stuff when it matters. If you guys remember, there was, I think, a signed by like 90-something plus congressmen a letter to Blizzard about the whole Hong Kong protest thing, right? So it's like, when this type of news happens, it spills over into the political world. It's like, these are real things. So Riot really didn't take that opportunity. Though I do think it was an immense show of leadership. The fact that they cut it. I mean, that was just a smart move. Shout outs to the probably the young Saudis who do want a Neom to be a success, and even though the dubious nature in which it is paid for entirely by the Saudi prince anyway. So, I'm sure there are people there trying to change things for the better. So, good luck with that. We won't see it soon, but the LEC is now has canceled that partnership. Literally a day after they released it. So, stuff moves fast.
Yeah, it's one of those things I don't want to congratulate them on doing what they should have done, but I think that a lot of companies have done worse and not course corrected.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think that was cool that Riot was like, okay, you guys are right, our bad.
We just had a similar thing happen to the Inven Global editorial team. They wrote an article.
What happened there? I saw your apology, but I couldn't find out what happened before then.
Yeah, so we wrote an article on some Twitch sexual misconduct case with, God, what's his name? I always say it wrong. Hashinshin? Hashinshin, there you go, thank you. I always say it wrong, right? So we wrote this very long report about the entire thing because our writers were like, there is so much uncertainty with this, as in I'm changing his story, the victims keep having their story pulled apart by his fans. There's just this is one of those things where someone needs to look at all the cases and then talk to him, get his answers, literally put things in front of his face and say, please answer for this. That's the role we thought we were doing. But when you write a 9.7K word article, people aren't going to read it. For one, people aren't going to read it. So even though I truly still to this day think if you read the whole article, you walk away thinking, wow, they really exposed that guy. But people didn't want to read that. They just saw the headline. They saw the headline included his name and his face and the fact that we were giving him a platform.
Yeah. And I knew that was where it was leading.
And I understand that now. This is something that I understand. I thought this was a more a Barbara Walters style thing of when someone's accused of a horrible crime, you let them talk about it. But the interviewer, our interviewer, was so tough, and he asked such tough questions. Anyone who reads that is like, man, they really handed it to him. His excuses were flimsy, they were pathetic, they were very deranged. So we post that thinking that, and we just don't get that response at all. Even though we got the permission from the victims, we've worked with the victims extensively to create this. Now, that being said, we decided to take down the piece because it didn't really matter our intentions, right? The execution of it was wrong. It was too long. This, and that.
Yep.
And people were just
perception's reality.
Yeah, and perception is reality. So you know what? I'm not going to say it's the same situation because they're obviously different. But I know that there are people on this team and on this decision with the whole Neom that had the best of intentions. They really did think this is the time in which we can use gaming and esports to build this bridge between the East and the West, and there's this entire consumer base of young Saudis who watch League of Legends, and they love esports, and this is something we can do. I get that, but you have to go back to the drawing board, and that's what we did with the article, and yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Some of the criticism, though, I just signed out. That was weird. I need my show notes. I'll sign out. Some of the criticisms of this is that is Riot and all of the people all the people in uproar about this? Are they in uproar because they know it's truly an immoral decision? Is it truly an immoral decision to have esports in a Neom the City? Or is it just so obvious that Western social media would never have this? Did people just know, and of the Western sensibility, that it doesn't matter how good intention this is, we're just never going to ever allow this to be on social media and be a thing, and be a thing that you guys proudly that's just not how it works here in the West. Some people are saying that that same attitude, that's the thing that's getting in the way of progress. these people were trying to do something very radical and new in Saudi Arabia, and you guys, from the comfort of Twitter, shut it down. Why? Yeah. Because you didn't want it to happen. So there's also that I couldn't help but put in, because as we were researching the story, that was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about that? I mean, like, do you think that holds any weight?
I'm of two minds. Like, I think that there are definitely like Twitter mobs, right, that can just like change the course of anything for better or for worse. So I definitely hear you there, but I think that this is maybe one that was worth shutting down. You know?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
True. Well,
I think it was like pretty unanimous, you know.
Oh, it was. It was unanimous by the people with blue check marks, so to speak. And again, I'm playing the devil's advocate, because there is a massive amount of people who feel differently about this. I actually agree with Shawn, though. I think that's totally the right approach. This is one of those things that needed to happen. I think if you're going to make this type of thing, you need to do it in a way that protects LGBTQ people, and you need to do it in a way that doesn't further promote the same countries that are, pretty much denying their humanity. There's no other nice way to say it. So, speaking of denying humanity, nice segue.
Okay, all right. You know what?
Speaking
that wasn't bad.
Denying.
That wasn't bad.
So apparently, the citizens of Star Citizen, the backers of this game, are pretty upset that the devs' a roadmap for what this game will be. It's just completely different than what they were promised. Completely different than what they were expecting. Like nearly 6 months. They were waiting, and they essentially got very frustrated. They started being vocal, and this is the PR nightmare. This is what you don't want to happen.
They've been waiting 6 months for an update on a game that's been backed since 2012. So that's where we're at right now. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with Star Citizen, but it's basically the biggest Ponzi scheme in gaming right now, and it's been going on for 8 years. They've raised over $300 million for this game. They've been putting out like alphas and stuff. They have like yearly conferences that people pay tickets to go to celebrate a game that has not even been released yet.
Is Star Citizen a cult?
It's kind of a cult. Like, honestly, like you see some of these like tiers for like the backing and stuff, like all these ships that you get, and like all this trading that goes between like players for like assets that don't even exist yet. And it's like, I don't know who these people are, where they're from, what they're trying to get out of this game by investing so much money into it. Yeah. But I really want to like talk to somebody like face to face and be like what the fuck? Like,
so
I don't know.
What can I get like the TLDR on what Star Citizen is supposed to be?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like a revolutionary like space sim, kind of like comparative to like EVE Online kind of thing, where you're investing all this money and time into like ships, and there's not really like a governing body that dictates what's going on. It's basically like all community driven on like what happens and everything like that, and that's kind of like the promise. So this company has been raising money. They got kicked off of like Kickstarter like a while back because people they like hit their goal by like a bunch, and then people said like, oh, we still want to like back it. So they opened a like third-party site for people to like donate through, and they just hit $300 million like last month.
Holy what?
Yeah. So I've always heard about a Star Citizen. But I'll be honest, it was only after reading these show notes you put together, Eric, I didn't realize that it's not out yet. Because when you go to their website, you can go play game and you download something, but there's just no game?
It's like an alpha. Wow. It's like not even a beta.
And it doesn't even have the multiplayer they promised and all that?
Yeah, I was a researcher on this show called Game Talk Live, which is like a video game like news show basically. And one of the favorite things that I ever did on that show was like research Star Citizen and get like people on that were like very well versed in like what the company was doing, like all the sketchy shit that was going behind the scenes, and like it's insane, like all the details. Like we obviously don't have enough time to go into it today, but like the biggest update right now is that they have like this single player campaign that was supposed to come out back in 2016, which still hasn't come out. And they said that they were going to have like a massive update for the fans back in March. And now people are like, well, what the fuck? It's been like 6 months, like no word from anything on anything. So clearly
there's this larger than life humanity, like fantasy, that people want to experience so bad. People want to experience this space, like MMO, real time, real money, huge world, persistent thing. They want to be Han Solo so bad and be a space a smuggler that they are willing to wait 8 years and still giving. That's incredible.
I think it's more of the promise that they want to get in at the base level. You know, they want to be like one of the founders, like one of the people that was there when, you know, Star Citizen exploded. It became like the biggest game of all time.
The sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, like I'm sure people would die to be like at the beginning of like EVE Online and like build up to a point where they're like they own like all these like thousands of dollars worth of ships and they have all this like command and that's like just their life.
Money in it. In a way, it's kind of like an investment. If you're the largest a Star Citizen team, and the game becomes massive.
An entire generation of consoles has come and gone since this Kickstarter has like started, which like boggles the mind. But like the headline that is like kind of popping up in a couple of news outlets now is that in response to people saying like what the fuck's going on, they said that they released a roadmap for their upcoming updated roadmap for what the development of the single player is going to look like. And it was like they lay it out. Like I think I put it in the show notes, but it's like 1, give an explanation of the goals of our new roadmap and what to expect. Number 2, show a rough mock-up of the proposed new roadmap. Number 3, share a work in progress version of the roadmap for at least one of our core teams. Number 4, and then finally transition into this new roadmap.
What are they doing?
I mean, probably just partying with the $300 million they have.
Wait, I really don't understand this because like AAA game development normally takes like, 5 years roughly to get a game through. It's been 8, and you don't even have an updated roadmap.
Okay, what are the odds though that this is legitimately the greatest game ever made of all time? Like they were I'm hashtag when it's done. Fuck you, we're making a whole new world here.
I mean, dude, I'm thinking not much, but I'm looking at it and it looks like a Mass Effect MMO.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like I want that. I'll pay $45 right now.
Would you spend like $30,000?
If you could have a $30,000 see, here is the thing, guys. I've learned a little bit about wealth by being not wealthy at all and yet somehow working with and being surrounded by people who are extremely wealthy. And what I've learned is that when you get so rich, there comes a point where spending $30,000 for a video game is like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like that's 100% the people who have put the most money into Star Citizen aren't worried at all. They haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
They're this old school nerd who has always wanted something like this. They're literally billionaires.
Yeah,
and they say, yeah, I want my own capital ship. I want it to be the biggest ship in the Star Station. You just sell that $1 million ship to 300 people, you could probably do that.
Yeah, if you guys are really like interested in learning more, I definitely advise like just look up a couple of articles that have come out in the past like 3 years or something, just kind of chronicling like everything about this, like the whales that have like sunk so much money into it. I don't think it's an exaggeration that like some people have put like hundreds of thousands of dollars into like backing this game.
Yep.
Dude. And so what is like the fan reaction been? Like I'm sure people are pissed, right? But it's weird because it's not top of mind for me, so I feel like they can't be that pissed.
So I think for them it's just become such like this community to them that like, they've made all these connections. They still have shit to talk about that isn't necessarily like Star Citizen related. Like,
of course,
they're just kind of like brought together by this mutual love of like this game and the promise of what it could be. And I think that's just at this point more important for this. So, like, I'd love to see a full length documentary come out on this game and like the people and the community and all the events. Super
well, speaking of games that are the opposite of this one, as in, think about a game that's massively popular and is free and is going
exists.
to be playable in the next year, probably, right?
Yeah.
By holiday.
Halo Infinite, 120 FPS, and you know how much those frames cost? 0 cents. Each frame is free.
Well, kind of.
Okay, so what's the kind of? I thought this was a free-to-play game with free multiplayer, right?
I think it's just free multiplayer. So, like, you don't need to buy the full game, but, like, it's also going to be free on Game Pass if you have Game Pass, so...
Yeah.
Oh,
free
damn.
on
I
Game
thought you were
Pass is
saying it was
such
free
a-
to play. So I still have to buy it, like Overwatch? I still have to buy the game?
No. I think the multiplayer is totally free.
Yeah.
But the game, instead of paying $60, you can buy it on Game Pass. But yeah, it's funny. I also say free on Game Pass, but it's like I'm paying money for Game Pass. You are paying for it, but it is comparatively free.
But I mean, I just renewed Xbox Game Pass for the first time. I haven't had it like activated for like 3 months or something, just because there hasn't been a lot popping up. I bought Master Chief Collection on Steam just to like have it.
Same.
And then like Carry On, or however you pronounce it, Devolver Digital's newest game just popped up. So I was like, oh, I'll renew it. Still $1 for like a month.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
yeah, dude. Yeah,
wow.
Like not the ultimate like subscription or whatever the fuck that is,
just
but
PC.
like, yeah, I don't have like a console or anything, so I don't have to worry about like.
So do you know why
But
that is because I'm sure there are some game developers who have already realized that you can make more money off of the cell phone subscription method or kind of business model than viewing games as $59 pieces of wood people have to purchase. Like it's actually
Microsoft is just such in the headspace of like it's more important to like push the service and make sure like people are using it than to actually like sell it for like $6 a year or something, because like that's just what they've been doing with all their software and stuff. Just
it's
being
so
this
interesting,
brand
Microsoft's strategy, because they constantly just like abandon things. They just abandon the services they make.
So synonymous with like the default, it's just what they do. It's what they are.
We are the default a video game. Just buy your kid an Xbox, get him a Game Pass. You are now a good parent to your gamer. Yeah. Well, I'm very happy to see Halo back with free multiplayer just for esports. Like Halo, we all must tip our fedoras to the MLG and to the Halo esports revolution that happened in the U.S. It's huge. Yeah. Some of the first big names, I believe, like Fatality, right? Like, didn't he come from the Halo scene, or didn't he like perform really well in Halo? Anyways, I'm sure someone's going to like message me on Twitter saying I'm totally wrong, but there's some really huge OG names in esports start with Halo, so I'm happy to see it. Maybe I'll play. Are you guys gonna play?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
It's going to be on Game Pass, so I'll give it a shot. I've been going through the campaigns for all the older games, 1, 2, and 3 right now. So
I'm really interested to see if Halo multiplayer going free to play is going to do anything for the esports scene, because like that, I guess like Call of Duty is kind of the only game like that has like a multiplayer esports scene, right? Like Overwatch is different. MOBAs are different. Battle Royales are different. There isn't really this like these team like 5-on-5 multiplayer games. So and even COD is like kind of hanging on by a string given the way that Activision has like handled the league. So and I don't think Microsoft really wants to get fully bought into esports like that. But I'm interested to see, because free to play seems to be the gateway to making insane content creators. So.
It's a really good point. There's no like a decade ago, it was like deathmatch, that was like the mode, and it was just that, you relied on the game's like core mechanics, and that was just like what the players had to deal with. And so many more and different games have been, added since then. And then you just kind of take into account like Bungie's time with, Destiny this whole time. Like, how is that going to factor into like shaping how multiplayer is? Like Destiny esports was never a thing, even though they had a competitive. So
true.
I don't know, like, what's the focus going to be? Apparently, this is going to be like the Halo game for like the next generation. Like, they're not planning on making another one. It's just going to be like feeding into this game. So yeah, what's it going to look like?
The thing that I'm really happy about is that there was, granted, I think it was their hand was forced because of a leak, but I'm happy that there was an announcement about the multiplayer, because I know that when it got announced, when the campaign got leaked, a lot of esports people were like, who gives a shit about the Halo campaign, which I care a lot.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to know about like what's the multiplayer going to look like, blah blah blah. And I'm happy that they did address it, because that is something that I think about a lot in terms of Halo specifically. Is everybody has their own relationship with this game. A lot of people cared a lot about the Halo 3 multiplayer, right? Yep. But like I grew up without Xbox Live, so I just love Halo campaigns. And I think that Microsoft has to be really aware that they have a truly dichotomic audience, like they have two different groups of people that they need to service. And I think that making it free to play is a really, really good idea.
Are you excited about the prospect of like a open world Halo campaign, or would you prefer more of like a linear kind of level to level kind of situation?
So I haven't played a Halo campaign since Halo 4. It's like I never played ODST or 5 or whatever. So I know that they've made a lot of mistakes with the campaigns. The thing that I'm most excited about, given the way the trailer looked, is it looked like Halo 1 again, which was like really amazing, a lot less hand holding, because Halo 1 was like not open world because there was only one way to go, but it felt like you had some choices in how you took on fights, how you traversed the land or whatever. So I'm excited, but I think that like not every game needs to be open world.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where I think it, like, I think it works pretty well with Gears of War 5 when they tried to do that. I don't know if you play that game, but it was implemented in like a pretty smart way where it wasn't like, it's going to be like open worlds completely where it's like all these intersecting. It was kind of like a mix of both. So like you'd go through a level, but there would be like two like areas in the middle of the game where it's like, oh, you can go do like this side mission and get like parts for like upgrades and stuff, and it'll set you up for like the harder linear levels down the road. I'm like,
I am interested to see like how like you talked about the progression aspect of open worlds. I'm really interested to see how that works in Halo. And I think that it is really cool. I'm kind of of two minds of this, but I think it is really cool to see Microsoft trying to make a more current gen Halo, because I mean the game's been around for like almost like 20 years or whatever, so I think it's tough to make it feel modern. But even in the multiplayer, they're adding like battle pass customization options, things like that, so it'll be interesting to see. But like,
it's true.
Is Master Chief going to be able to like jump 1,400 feet in the air? I don't know if I really need that.
He's got a grappling hook though.
The grappling hook looks sick. Everybody was mad about it. I thought it ruled.
Yeah, I mean, like the Doom grappling hook. I mean, awesome.
Agreed.
Well, I think Eric, you may have accidentally just hit it like on the head when you said it looked like the Doom grappling hook, because there's also the Apex Legends grappling hook. What all of this means and is hinting at is that, Halo is now going to be able to be played in this next generation of gaming with all the bells and whistles we're used to, with all of the online support we're used to. It's a small thing, but with all of the sound design and art design and UI design that's gotten so much better throughout games history. I mean, so many reasons as to why, like Overwatch, you can hate it, you can, say like it's imbalanced, it's esports weird, but like when you load up Overwatch, talk about a beautiful game in terms of music, AI, just experience, so polished. We haven't really had that with with Halo in a long time, I think. So I think I'm really looking forward to that. I want to see if Halo can capture the casual audience and the much larger FPS audience that games like Overwatch has helped create. So looking forward to that. I can't believe we're almost out of time. We did want to talk really, really quickly about AOC's amendment failing. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wanted to pass a bill that essentially said the U.S. Navy couldn't use gaming and streams to recruit. But she, unfortunately, that didn't pass. So the U.S. Navy's back to streaming. So as crazy as the world is, we also have our armed force streaming and running ads and giving away headphones to join the military. So that could be a whole podcast discussion in itself, just talking about that. But that is it for today. Wow, we have talked for an hour. Shawn, thank you so much for being here.
Sorry, man.
No, this was awesome. These are my favorite type of podcasts when we're just straight chilling. And Shawn, you've been a lovely guest. We're not totally done yet. We still get to do my favorite part called wins and fails. This is when we just give our wins and fails, and we're very, very creative. So we thought of that idea, wins and fails, because it's a very popular podcast trope. We wanted to put our spin on it, so we made it boring. My win, I'd say, has to go to Riot. For making the decision to pull back from Neon. Now, I know I was being a devil's advocate, but I want to once again somehow dunk on Blizzard. They get the win because it's in comparison and in contrast to the leadership displayed by Blizzard, as in when it was only a day after they saw their community started hating them. Only a day after they saw the community start to say, hey, don't do this. They did immediate changes. And I was talking to Eric about this before we went on, but like, do you know how much work hours were thrown away but by having that? It's so hard to do that, to kill your baby, to kill
Warcraft.
Your project. Yeah. Someone should have
still busted.
Someone should have killed Warcraft, should have killed Reforged when they saw it, when they saw the state it was in. They should have just said, we need to go back, we need to do the uncomfortable thing, we need to be leaders here, we need to respect our audience, we need to respect our gamers. So
they
that
should have
is
done
my
Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Just take 8 years.
Or that. So, Star Citizen still has a way to win. And you know what? My fail for this, I'm actually gonna say give a little L to Microsoft. I don't think that. Yeah, I actually don't think that Xbox reveal they did last week was very compelling. I thought
that was for you though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you compare what Sony did and the amount of buzz that Sony had, I mean, come on.
I think their biggest misstep was having like no real first party announcements. Yeah. It was a lot of what happens at E3 that always confused me when I was younger, which is like the new Call of Duty gets announced for PS4, and I was like, but can I still play on my Xbox or what?
Yeah.
And I think that it was a lot of that. I honestly kind of liked the Xbox event, but I think that you're right. Like compared to Sony, it's like Sony just fucking killed it. Like
seriously.
And if I had to go into full 2000 console war, I'd even say that the true fail should be Nintendo, because they just recently had this latest Direct, and it was the smallest, lamest update.
No, I'm not listening to this, bro. They said they called it a Direct Mini, a mini Direct.
Fine.
They warned you.
Direct Mini. Why don't you just wait?
The last Direct we got was in September, though.
That's fair. I mean, Nintendo has done nothing in 2020, which I think is like horrible.
They're really struggling with this.
Well, no, it's because they're too busy playing psychiatrist and Animal Crossing. Don't you know that Animal Crossing is the only thing that's keeping these millennials and myself alive? Like, if it wasn't for Animal Crossing, I think, but it is true. Nintendo hasn't had a huge, massive dub in a while.
I mean, Animal Crossing was good for like a year, I think. Like, it's on track to become like the most sold Switch game or something, which is insane.
Yeah.
But, I got to fail. I got a esports.
What is your fail, Eric?
I got a fail prediction, a future fail prediction.
Okay.
So something that hasn't failed yet, but probably will. 1 week from today, so we can check back on it in the next podcast. Fast and Furious Crossroads comes out for PC and consoles, I believe. It was the last game that was shown at the Game Awards last year, and it looked like big ass. It looked like big ass.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Look up the trailer. You will not be impressed. It looks like a mobile game. It looks so bad. It looks really, really bad. Michelle Rodriguez got up on stage, like blitzed, tried to promote it with Vin Diesel. Like, what is happening? This is like the grand finale.
Crossroads.
So we'll probably see the reviews roll in for that, like on the day of release, because they're probably not going to be great. But yeah, that's my prediction right now.
Dude, I'm excited. We'll have a whole podcast. I'm dedicated to shitting on this game if it's bad.
Yeah.
That's fun. Shawn, is there anything that you're working on? Is there anything that... Do you got some wins and fails?
wins and fails, I would say the biggest win coming up that I see right now is a hopeful win is I'm really excited for what the team over at Ven.tv are going to start making.
Oh, yeah, Ven.
Because it seems they've got a lot of really interesting creators. They got people outside of gaming. They've got people that are really passionate, and I'm really excited to have some like really curated content because I feel like they're hopefully about to do what IGN has been trying to do for a long time. So I'm really excited to see that. And for fails, just super brief, Keemstar sucks. Like this has been my big thing for the past for a long time now, but the past couple weeks, like that dude has just been like light speed horrible and just like keeps doubling down, keeps getting worse. In fact, I got a text this morning. I really love that dude Jake Lucky who makes esports talk. I think he's really funny and I love his videos.
Esports talk, hell yeah. Shout out.
And Keemstar just like is trying to like go in on him, try to take him down. I'm like, Jake Lucky, let the man live. He barely sleeps. Leave him alone.
Ever since that like H3 beef, like he's been going like light speed because he's got
spiraling.
If he didn't have a spotlight on him before, he has like a couple spotlights on him now, and he's just like no morals, doesn't give shit.
Yeah,
like, whatever.
You know, we actually ended up writing about Keemstar when one of our writers, Amelia, aka Pash, wrote a really great expose about all of the sexual assault allegations coming up in esports that happened in July, and she called out Keemstar because Keemstar does suck. He's on a light speed track to being the least likable person on the internet. I feel like he just misunderstands every
No, that dude knows exactly what he's doing.
You really think that he's purposefully he knows the wrong take and then takes it on purpose?
Yes.
Yeah. I really do think so.
Yeah.
It's a change. Yeah.
Because what do you think gets more views, the right take or the wrong take?
Yeah.
What gets more views is when Eric plays a melee with me on my stream tonight. But Eric would never do that because he will never accept my melee challenge.
We played melee before. I suck at melee.
Oh, whose problem is that you suck at melee? You have infinite time to get good at melee. There has never been more resources.
My best friend is his name's Nick. He is like a god at Mario Kart, and we all just refuse to play with him now.
Really?
Because he's like, guys, because like we do like 12-hour streams over at the HQ Boys, and he's like, oh, we could play Mario Kart for an hour, and I'm like, no,
no,
you're just gonna kick my ass for an hour straight. No thanks,
bro. If you ever want some HQ Boys melee action, if you ever want some HQ Boys learn melee, bro, I know we got you over at the Inven Global Podcast. We can make some content about that.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. Well, anyways, guys, this was super fun. Again, thank you for being our guest, Shawn. We hope to have you back. This has been episode 26 of the Inven Global Podcast. You can follow me at Nick Durazio 3RD, Nick Durazio 3rd with a 3. You can then follow Eric at Winko Stainless. That's on Twitter. And are you also on Instagram with the same?
Yeah.
I tried to tell Eric that we need to cyber bully him. If you're listening to this, if you're a loyal fan, cyber bully Winko Stainless, make him tweet things. And you can also follow Shawn. I guess they can follow you like everywhere. They can follow you at like multiple places, right?
Yeah. You can find me everywhere at Shawn Thomas. That's SHAW for all you fake Shawns out there. And if you want to see funny YouTube videos and podcasts that I make with my friends, you can find us everywhere at the HQ Boys.
You can see him in the beginning, middle, and end of all of your favorite YouTube videos.
Yeah, all of you males aged 18 to 31, you will be seeing Shawn more. Shawn's going to be like that here in my garage with my Lamborghinis guy overnight.
Dude.
Because he's in the ads. Dude, it's going to happen.
It's in my garage with my smooth balls.
With my smooth balls. Here in my shower, my balls, shaving them. And you know why I do? Knowledge. Anyways, I want knowledge. Guys, this has been episode 26 of the Inven Global Podcast. You can find us at invenglobal.com. Talk to you guys next week. See you later.
Peace.
Peace.